Welcome to the section 54. Yes, section 54. And in last session, we talked about, we spent lots of time talking about the architecture design and the relationship with its clients. In this session, we'll still talk about, somewhat arts, but in different medium or formats or platforms. And I would like to talk about, movies, which I briefly mentioned before. Um, there were a lot of, movie stars. They were so great, splendid before they became stars. Because once they became star, then they figured they already know all the in and outs. They mastered the rules. Okay, to be, a good actor or good actress. And then they started, pretty much getting too comfortable with, how well they mastered the rules, of the acting. And then you start to see them start to acting out totally being themselves in entire disregard of whatever the character, came out of, whatever, family background, what upbringing, what education, what life experience, what profession. They all sounded the same, looked the same, because they're just being who they were, right? It used to be like there were certain type of actors. They basically, that's what they are. They are good at being themselves, and that's referred to as the type, character. Basically, the casting manager would probably just pick them because they are very good at being who they are, and sometimes it fits perfectly in certain roles. But not if otherwise, you were expected to, play a character who is, let's say, almost a slave, basically deep down in, at the bottom of a society, suffered a lot, endured a lot, and nevertheless, arrive at a certain, philosophical, level of, I guess, or personal view of the world. That's very deep to dig, to mine, that world. And then you have some very famous movie stars, came along and said, hey, just play being either himself or herself. And it's so shallow to the point you can barely stand. And yet, that's a movie star. And probably the producer paid, a fortune, wasted money on, someone like that. Why? Because a lot of audience out there, they don't know the difference. Okay, they actually love the certain face they are already, acquainted with, on the screen. That's basically, market level, created, monetarily by and for the movie stars. So if you have a production with no movie star, with no such faces of certain, face value in the market, recognized by the, promoted by Hollywood and recognized by the audience, you can hardly get the, box, sales record as projected for the producers. So when I try to, decide what's a good movie for me to watch, I totally disregard the views. I don't care. It's like a expert views, the things, offered by the professional critics, or, the views by the mass audience. Because, hey, in today's world, you like what you like. I like what I like. Maybe I'm too old school, and maybe I'm, among a very, very small crowd, but who cares? I don't have to follow your standard. You have your standard, and you judge, right? I have my standard. I don't judge, but I do want to watch what I want to watch and enjoy for fun. And what is fun? That standard is different, right? By the same token, let's talk about the literature, right? What really is very popular, really sell. You think that's really serious, great literature? Not by my standard, but hey, that's only by my standard. For me, for myself alone. I'm not gonna, try to promote my standard. It's not about good, bad, or high, low, whatever. It's just mine's mine. The way I was brought up, the way I turn out. I want to enjoy, moment of my life. I don't care whatever other standards out there, better, not better. I mean, that's set out for somebody else who are happy to accept, not this one. Okay? And this is not about, oh, I am so much better than you, or no. No. It's not about that. It's at my stage of my life, I don't need any of that nonsense. Okay? I don't care anymore. You can, label me whatever you want. I am old school, and I am going to stick to who I am and what I am. So when it comes to what makes me happy, the specific type of music, the specific type of literature, or specific type of movie, right? That's something I totally disregard the review, offered out there. I don't care, because that is their standard, has absolutely nothing to me, has nothing to do with me, okay? So when it comes to my own personal preference of music, literature, arts, theater, I don't need any advice or comments from anybody else. No suggestions, no recommendations that I really value much, unless it is from someone I really, really know well. Okay? Other than that, nah. By the same token, you go to a restaurant, right? Let's say it's a Japanese restaurant in America. Do I care whoever else say anything about, whether that Japanese restaurant is good or bad? Nah. What about Chinese restaurant? No. Not even the reviews, are offered by authentic Chinese, because hey, after all, China is so big, and there's so many Chinese came out from all the different kind of background and immigrant to the United States. Do you expect all of us are the same? Nah, not really, right? But when it comes to the French restaurant, do I know any difference? No. Remember, this is all about acquired taste. And when people recommend, maybe I just have to, take their words as, at least some serious reference before I try it out and then decide, oh, this is something I like or I don't like. And then what about the Italian restaurant? Just about any Italian restaurant in Houston, I don't really like any of them. Okay, because I don't think they're good enough. Even a few of them, the chefs and owners of this, small business, were really Italian from Italy. But I think this way: what if you go to the restaurant that's owned and operated by old Chinese, authentically? Does that guarantee you it's great Chinese cuisine? Not really. I don't know what the guys were doing, back in China before they came here in the United States, opened up a restaurant. Maybe they were chefs, maybe they were not. Maybe they were good chefs, maybe they were not, right? And here's something about the standards when it comes to the cuisine. When you go into a Chinese restaurant, how do you find out if this Chinese restaurant is really authentically, great? And I'm talking about being a, Chinaman, born, raised in China, so you know the difference. So how do you want to find out if this restaurant is good enough, the Chinese restaurant? If this is a Cantonese restaurant, the first thing you do is to order a steamed fish, because that's something everybody's supposed to be able to do in China. And barely, a good proportion of people can actually master that skill, because the timing and then the ingredients and everything has to be in perfect timing and amount, the combination of perfection. That is the challenge, because if you're down to something supposed that everybody know how to do and nobody can do it right, that's the master piece easily just stand out, right? So when you walk into a Cantonese restaurant, what do you order? Steamed fish. And you should be able to tell the difference even if you're not Chinese. All you need is like 3 times differences to compare between the experience you had, and then of course you come out and yeah, I can relate, one of them was better or the best. And then what about the Sichuan restaurant, which is the spicy hot, stuff, the red hot stuff? Same thing. You go to Sichuan, all the local people, they don't ever order like a double cooked pork because they can do at home, easily like that. They don't expect anything dramatically better in a restaurant. But outside Sichuan, even let's say in Beijing, you order it, I would say 9 out of 10 times I would dismiss as authentic. So double cooked pork, a lot of time, this is something everybody in Sichuan know how to do it, but outside Sichuan, not really. If I had the doubt in Beijing, let alone in America, right? So what does that all, boil down to? It is a standard could be good for a lot of people, but not necessarily, for you or for me or for her or for him, right? But by the same token, the same standard, right, for applying to the most common things actually easily could tell the better from not so good easily, right? All you have to do is to know what or which standard to apply where for what against whom. And if you know that, you make a lot less mistakes in your life. The small mistakes. I mean, if you don't like a restaurant, don't just walk away and say, oh, this is a bad, really a place of bad chef. No, you probably just ordered the wrong dish, because a good customer, I'm talking about the Chinese and Chinaman, for a Chinese restaurant, a good customer can easily tell you, right out with 10 restaurant, as the top 10 to recommend, but they will be very specific on, when you go into this Chinese restaurant, this is what you order because this is what they're good at. And then when you go to the other Chinese restaurant, order something different, which is what and what, because that's what they are really specialized at. Until what? So provided the condition when that chef is still there. And among all the Chinese restaurants in America, the chef just basically pack up and leave all the time because they constantly demand higher salary. When the owner cannot satisfy, they move. And when they move, the good customers can tell right away, and the good customer just follow the chef, wherever the chef. So that's the power, right? I know, at least in the Chinatown in Houston, that's how it has been in the last 30 years. Among the the non-Cantonese restaurant, some stayed good for a while and then bang, dropped, and then the next one started to be good before it dropped again. Why? Because this chef just constantly moving around between all the Chinese restaurants. So that is the standard we have to judge, to tell the better from not so good, right? And so we already have all these analogies on the literature, on visual arts, on the architect, on the cuisine, but we really don't have to stop here. There are a lot more, but the whole point here is basically to point to one fact, and one fact only, which is basically, you can't let a subset of rules basically confine yourself to a box. Yes, a lot of them, they make sense. They make things easier when you follow them. But if you follow them religiously, like without any limit and put no condition to it, it's going to be, I guess, a life not so happy for you. Because you got to know when to break the rules, for what reason, exactly, how to justify that. You have to know that. How do you know that? You have, again, elevate to the next level, higher or way higher, to look at the, bigger picture. And then you would know. All those subset of the rules are only limited to apply at certain places, under certain conditions, not just universally to apply. And now that is exactly the difference between the rules and the universal laws. Remember, at the beginning of this video series, we talk about, you never reduce the universal laws to the specific rules. But then here, it's just the opposite, okay? You never, ever take the specific rules without the guidance of the universal laws, because then you get lost. Because basically, there are a lot of rules. When they change, they don't change the rules, but when they're all different, places, and when you apply the same rule all over, you get confused, because a lot of the time it doesn't work. So now you start to question about the rules. The rules were never wrong. It just, you apply the wrong rules at the wrong place at the wrong time. So how do you know when it is the right rules at the right time for the right place? Back to the universal laws. And that is the whole point of Taoism teaching. So you become wiser, right? You can be smart, pick up the rules fast and learn to obey, apply broadly. Without the wisdom, you will bump your head again and again. So until next session, ciao.